নিউইয়র্কের জীবন আর সংস্কৃতি, আলোচিত কোনো ঘটনা, বন্ধুদের সাথে আড্ডা আর আমন্ত্রিত অতিথিদের নিয়ে FM786.com এর নিয়মিত আয়োজন নিউ ইয়র্ক ডায়েরি। আরজে মোহনা আর আরজে আরিয়ানের সাথে যুক্ত থাকুন, দেখুন, শুনুন, মতামত দিন। নিউ ইয়র্ক সময় রাত 9টা এবং বাংলাদেশ সময় সকাল 8টায় আমাদের মোবাইল অ্যাপ, facebook.com/FM786 অফিসিয়াল, youtube.com/FM786 অফিসিয়াল আর FM786.com ওয়েবসাইটে। নিউ ইয়র্ক ডায়েরি, নিউ ইয়র্কের প্রতিচ্ছবি। দৈনন্দিন জীবনের বিভিন্ন সমস্যার ও প্রশ্নের ইসলামের আলোকে সমাধান, উত্তর আর ব্যাখ্যা নিয়ে FM786.com এবং এনটিভির যৌথ আয়োজন আপনার জিজ্ঞাসা প্রতি শুক্রবার একসাথে দেখুন, শুনুন। নিউ ইয়র্ক সময় সকাল 9টা, বাংলাদেশ সময় রাত 8টায়। নিউ ইয়র্কের কমিউনিটি অ্যাক্টিভিস্ট, মেইনস্ট্রিম পলিটিশিয়ান এবং প্রফেশনালদের অংশগ্রহণে কমিউনিটি লিডার মোহাম্মদ আলীর অনবদ্য উপস্থাপনায় FM786 এর আয়োজন কমিউনিটি অ্যাফেয়ার। প্রতি রবিবার দেখুন, শুনুন। নিউ ইয়র্ক সময় রাত 10টা, বাংলাদেশ সময় সকাল 9টায়। মুফতি ওসমান গনি সালেহির উপস্থাপনায় FM786.com এর সরাসরি প্রশ্নোত্তরমূলক অনুষ্ঠান ইসলাম জানা ও অজানা। দেখুন, শুনুন। প্রফেসর ডক্টর মুজিবুল হকের উপস্থাপনায় স্বাস্থ্য বিষয়ক নতুন শো স্বাস্থ্য সুরক্ষা উপভোগ করুন এবং সরাসরি আপনার রোগ নিয়ে প্রশ্ন করুন আর সাথে সাথে পেয়ে যান সঠিক পরামর্শ। প্রতি শুক্রবার নিউ ইয়র্ক সময় বেলা 11:30টায় এবং বাংলাদেশ সময় রাত 10:30টায়।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we have a very special guest. Before we introduce the guest, I will read a little bio about him. Tonight, we will ask him a series of questions. This particular person is James F. Gennaro. He is a leading city council member for District 24. In the last previous Tuesday's election, he has a commanding lead. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we have a special guest, no other than former council member James Gennaro. Mr. Gennaro takes a commanding lead in District 24 Queens special election. District 24 covers Kew Gardens, Fresh Meadows, Briarwood, Jamaica, Electhurst, and Palm Anak. The city first test of the new ranked choice voting system may not be much of a test after all. James Gennaro is a former Democrat member of the New York City Council, where he represented the council District 24 and chaired the Council Committee on Environmental Protection. James served from 2002 to 2013. Mr. Gennaro, who was term limited out of office in 2013 after serving 3 terms. On January 10th, 2014, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced the appointment of former City Council member James Gennaro as a Deputy Commissioner for New York City Sustainability and Reliances at New York State Department Conservation. Mr. Gennaro stepped down from the Cuomo administration on May 1st, 2020, to run for his former seat in the New York City Council in a special election held on February 2nd, 2021. Mr. Gennaro took a commanding 60% of the vote based on unofficial results released by New York City Board of Elections on Tuesday night. Second place finisher, Mamita Ahmed, won only 16% of the vote. Let me explain to you guys how new ranked choice voting system works or worked. New ranked choice voting system, which allows a voter to choose from 5 candidates in order of their preference. There were 8 candidates on the ballot. The winner needed to receive more than 50% of the vote. If that happened on the first tally and there are not enough outstanding ballots to change those results, then an additional round of counting is not needed. While official results cannot be completely counted and certified until at least 13 days after the election, which is the last day military ballots can be received by the BOE Board of Election in a special in special and general elections. The BOE officials said on Tuesday afternoon that there were only 2,000 absentee ballots applications processed for the special election, with 600 ballots returned so far. Mr. Gennaro leads with more than 3,300 votes, makes it all but impossible to dip below majority threshold. Tuesday, Mr. Gennaro himself pledged to respect the counting process. James Gennaro, who after working for Governor Cuomo wants to get back to City Hall seat he had for last 12 years. He said, experience matters. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and my privilege to welcome honorable guest on tonight's show on FM 786, no other than former council member James F. Gennaro. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me. I look forward to speaking with you and all of your good audience.
Welcome, welcome. How are you, Mr. Gennaro?
I'm a little bit tired, but I feel invigorated, and there's a lot of work to do to, get ready to assume office, and also to, continue the campaign into the primary. So I have a lot on my plate, but it's always wonderful to, be on the station and talk to your good listeners and viewers. So it's a privilege for me to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Gennaro, for taking your time out from your busy schedule. I know you had a very rough special election. You had done so much work during the election, and for taking your time from your family and your friends to come on FM 786. Tonight, I will be asking you a series of questions, especially within the local community, local district of 24. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The first question, can a returner win?
Yes, I think that I think that happened on Tuesday, and so I felt that in this time of crisis, and we are in a COVID crisis. We're also, because we're in a COVID crisis, we're in a budget crisis. I thought it was important to offer myself as a choice, as a choice to people. When I first came into office in 2002, that was right on the heels of the September 11th disaster. So the city was in crisis at the time. And crisis situations, I think, are best managed by people who have been tested by crisis, and also to make sure that this district is kept whole in the budget process. The budget process is the number one issue right now, because this is going to be a very painful budget. We are about somewhere between $5.25 and $5.5 billion in terms of a budget gap that is going to have to be made up. And it's my job to make sure that all the essential services that the good people of this district, rely upon and certainly deserve are kept intact. And after serving on the council for 12 years and being through 12 budget cycles as a member, and previous to that, I served as a staff member to the speaker for 13 years. So it's a total of 25 budget cycles, 25 years with the council, 12 as a member.
Which speaker?
When I was a staff member for 13 years, I served under Speaker Peter Ballone Sr.
Peter Ballone Sr., okay.
And then when I was elected to the council, it was Speaker Gifford Miller. for 4 years, and then Speaker Christine Quinn for
Christine Quinn.
8 years. Yes.
Okay. So the next question is, how much influence does common sense in New York is having?
You mean common sense in general, or common sense as an organization? I have to follow your question.
Organization.
Yeah, I have nothing to do with the organization that calls itself Common Sense or Common Sense New York or whatever it calls itself. I have nothing to do with that initiative, and I really don't have anything to say about it. I don't know what impact they had. I know there was some negativity that was put out there. I run positive campaigns, and this is the nature of political speech. People can get together, and I am forbidden by law from knowing about it beforehand, from coordinating with them in any way, shape, or form. That would be a violation. I can't even tell them to stop, and so because that would be in some way coordinating with them, which I am not allowed to do. So I don't speak for them. I have nothing to do. I have nothing whatsoever to do with them.
Common sense, to relate to your point, Common Sense New York is taking the second place, your second place candidate, Momita Ahmed, very seriously, having spent more than 95,000 on mailers and ads, and she is a rising star. What is your opinion on them spending so much money in terms of ad and mails and so many TV ads and so forth? What is your feedback for them to spend so much money? Where's your opinion?
The feedback I got from people who thought that I had who thought that I had some kind of association with this was not was not positive, but I was not in a position to do anything about it. It has nothing to do with me, and quite frankly, I don't think it helped me. But it's I ran my own campaign. That's what I always have done, and it's hard for me to speak about an organization that I have nothing to do with.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next question is, how close are you with billionaire developer Stephen Ross, or do you have any connections in terms
I don't
of
know
this?
who he is. I don't know who he is.
You don't know who Stephen Ross is?
I do not know who he is.
Okay, perfect. No problem.
I know that someone told me he was with the related companies.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of the related companies, but I don't know who Stephen Ross is. I've heard his name mentioned, but I've never met him. I do not know him.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the community concerns. A lot of people are writing me here. Also, I have my question written up. What are your plans for social services, languages, accessibility, gentrification, and displacement? What are your plans for these?
Yeah, I think that's a very broad question, but I'm going to pick up where I left off on the council, making sure that every part of this district is served and served well. And I think this was one of the keys to my success. I mean, back when I was on the council, I was approached by many people in the South Asian community. I did everything possible to try to lend assistance to any possible concerns that they can have, and I did my best to try to empower that community by appointing the first Bangladeshi woman to the community board, and
Yes.
making sure that the schools that service the South Asian community, PS 131, I can go through the whole list, had the latest in learning technology and science labs, and any issues they were having with regard to landlord tenant or displacement. One of the things I did is I funded the CUNY Law School Legal Clinic to make sure that people who did not have access to proper legal representation for whatever issue it may be, whether it was landlord tenant, whether it was some kind of employment discrimination, problem with banks, foreclosure or whatever, people who did not have the access to proper legal representation, I made sure that that was assured. And when it came to zoning and land use, and even the public park that many people in the South Asian community use, Captain Tilly Park, I made sure that that was fully revamped for $2 million expenditure, and for my efforts. And this is not my words. This is
also the Goose Pond. The Goose Pond.
Yes, Goose Pond is the actual pond, but being a geologist, I can tell your viewers that that is a very interesting geological feature. It's what we call a kettle pond.
Kettle pond.
It was created by the it was created by the last glacier 15,000 years ago. I can give your viewers a whole lesson on geology. I don't think they want it, but I was known at the time as the Bangladeshi councilman, and I celebrated all of the Bangladeshi Independence Days at City Hall. Once City Hall was under renovation, we had to do it at Borough Hall. I work with the community, make sure that all the people who were giving their time and talent and making sure that good things were happening in that community, I made sure that they were properly honored. When it came to the expansion of the Jamaica Muslim Center against community opposition, I made sure that that went forward. Some local residents were saying on Friday afternoon, there's cars all over the place, there'll be even more. I said, well, look, you're going to have to live with it, because this is important to make sure this house of worship becomes everything it needs to be to service the community. And so, I think the tallies will tell once we look at where all the votes came from. I think people will see that I did very well among the South Asian vote, because I did everything in my power to make sure that the South Asian community, all of the various aspects, all the various groups within the South Asian community were represented well, and I think they appreciated that, and I think that they remembered and they turned out for me, and for that I'm very grateful.
Okay, going to our next question in regards to the national age and the DIFTA program, senior care and senior center.
Yes.
What with the DIFTA program? What is the budget on that, and what is your future plan in terms of expanding or having more in the local area? What can you emphasize on the program, the DIFTA program?
Sure. I mean, I always made sure that seniors were a priority. Made sure that all of the Department for the Aging, which we call DIFTA, all of the sites were fully funded. There was one in the community, right off of Hillside Avenue on 168th Place, and I have many senior centers in the community. Always made sure that they were fully funded as necessary, and also I believe it's very important to not only do the senior centers, but I was very well known in the council as the greatest advocate for Meals on Wheels, because people who cannot get out of the house, it's very important that they get not only the meal every day, but make sure they get that knock on the door and have that social interaction, and make sure that the people from Meals on Wheels know that they're okay. And so that is critical, particularly in a time of a pandemic. So I was a big booster and big supporter and big funder in the overall citywide budget of Meals on Wheels. I think it's critically important. In addition to senior centers, it's the whole picture, not just the centers, also the Meals on Wheels.
A lot of times, what tend to happen is that, city council that are running, especially the new ones, they want to support community centers and senior centers where it actually benefits them. Like you said, Meals on Wheels or knocking on doors. A lot of times, these senior people are very aged, especially times like this with coronavirus all over the place. They don't have the access. They don't have the ride. They don't have the people, or they don't have the physical power to walk to the centers.
Correct.
These new candidates are some are supporting these senior centers because it actually benefits them. They can go, it's close to them. They can literally walk there because they can get a lots and lots of votes. But seniors that are in the house that have nobody, they are being left over that we don't realize. Can you please emphasize how we can attack or approach these seniors, or how can they get proper help, especially times of
I mean,
like this?
I'll just say that any elected official or any official who wants to propose something for the sake of getting themselves votes, that is a very good way to lose an election and to lose once one like once one is in office. If you do things for votes, people will see that. And for me, which is and that was and with regard to the Meals on Wheels, that's really why I mentioned it, because going outside the house, being in some sort of group setting, creates great risk. So one of my priorities, although senior centers are great and they provide and they have a great social atmosphere, that can't happen right now, and we have to make sure we get the meals to the people. And so I mean, everyone knows what it's like to go through COVID and to go through the pandemic. And we and our seniors are are our greatest commodity, and we can't forget them. We have to serve them and we have to service them. And the least that they can expect from the great city of New York is to be properly nourished, properly housed, and make sure that people are checking up on them and that they have the social interaction that they need. Now, and it's also important for the local council member to have a robust district office that can field
Exactly.
individual complaints and do that constituent service, because someone may be eligible for a certain service that they're not getting. And it's my job, or any council member's job, to make sure on a retail level, on an individual constituent basis, that people are being served. It's one thing to do it like with a broad brush, but this is government. People do fall through the cracks, and my office is one in which we make sure that everyone is served, no matter what their problems. I mean, people used to come to my office because they had problems with their cable television bill, and we would help them with with that. But certainly critical critical services. We would get all kinds of things. Someone who's in some kind of abusive situation, and they come to my office. Of course, we get them the proper social services. We get them police assistance. We are one-stop shopping for any kind of problem that someone can have. And so local government is really where it's at. I mean, there is one, national government, there's 50 state governments, and it's 86,000 local governments. That's where the rubber hits the road. This is the level of government closest to the people. I was in state government for a long time. I enjoyed it on some level, but you don't have that person-to-person contact, and to have the ability to bring services directly to people, to make people's lives better, to make sure at a minimum that they're not suffering. This is the role of the council member's district office when it comes to constituent services. And I had a good reputation for that, and I intend certainly to keep that going.
Before I get to my next question, I want to input something. Lots of candidates that tend to promise within their district what they cannot bring to the table. They would, you have to understand that whatever permits them, whatever power they have within the city council district, that's what they should promise to bring to their constituents and their people.
I say I thank you for mentioning that, because there was a lot of talk in this campaign about people doing things that the city council has no power to do. And so I think the minimum qualification that someone needs to apply for any job is a knowledge of the powers of the job and the powers of the office. And there was, quite a bit of rhetoric, during the campaign about powers that the city council just simply does not have, because state government, as we say in the legal, with the legal term, like the state government, preempts the city council on a lot of things, and the federal government, preempts the state on a lot of things. And in terms of the powers that are actually given to the city council, there are certainly limits on those powers, and we have to work within those powers. And it's my job as a city councilman, if somebody comes to me, with a complaint that can only really be fielded by someone in state government or the federal government, is to get them the person. Let's say it's some kind of, immigration matter.
Yes.
We have to get them in touch with the, immigration specialist, either in, Grace Meng's office or, Greg Meek's office, to
Yes.
make sure. And we know who to go to in these offices. And, but at the end of the day, we have to get them help, whether it's from the federal government, whether it's from the state government. It's about knowing who has what levers of power and how to pull those levers. And part of that comes from having good relationships with other people the people who are in elected office. I happen to know everyone, so that is helpful. And they come to me with problems, because people go to the local assembly person with a city government problem, and then they send them to me, which is fine.
It is very important for candidates to know their agencies and city agencies and the rank of power they have and what they can do and not do within their borders, instead of promising whole New York City. Like you just see, there's New York State Assembly, there is a New York State Senators, there is the Controller's Office, there's New York City Mayor. There's so many different agencies that have their own jobs to do. So we want to make sure and emphasize that the city council doesn't promise everything, the whole world, to their people in their respected district.
No, we can't do that. And even when it comes to city government power, an individual council member cannot claim to speak for the entire city or for the mayor or for the council.
Absolutely.
It's the role of the individual member, 1 out of 51. What can I get done? And I was fortunate that I was able to get quite a bit done. I authored and passed over 50 major pieces of legislation. Again, when I got to the city council the first time, I already had 13 years, as I mentioned, as a staff member. So when I was able to hit the ground running in 2002, and now in 2021, with 25 years of city council direct experience and 38 years in government, there's not a lot that I don't know. And my ability to make things happen, kind of speaks for itself. So I'm eager to, move forward.
We have lots more questions that we have to get to. So we're gonna, we have lots more. So like you always emphasize that experience matters. Okay, so I'm going back to the next question. Due to the pandemic, District 24 has been suffering greatly. There are many Uber drivers, taxi drivers, delivery men, etc., who are not receiving any benefits. What are your plans on providing them with benefits or guiding them so that they can have access to the benefits provided by the state and or a federal government?
When it comes to unemployment, this is a state matter, and I know all of the people in state government. I would work with them to make sure they got the appropriate unemployment, benefits, and any kind of benefits that they had some eligibility for. If they were being somehow discriminated by their employer, I would make sure that employer paid the appropriate price for their misconduct. And I think something that is, very important is to rebuild the economy through local businesses. Now, there is a bill in the council. There's a council member from Brooklyn. His name is Steve Levin, and he has a bill in the New York City Council that would create an analog of the federal, payroll protection plan, the PPP as it's called, except
Yes.
it would be on a local level. And I think that's something that we really need to get done, particularly for local businesses, because there are many businesses in the outer boroughs that do not, qualify for the PPP, and the city, would be in a position to do that. Now, the resistance to doing that, of course, is that such a law, if it were to be passed, would create, more of a budget problem than we already have. So I think it's very important, to get that done, to get that bill passed before we finish the budget. Because if we make the budget and that bill is not passed, and we don't have the local version of the payroll protection program done, once the budget is passed, that just
Yes.
plain old won't happen. So it's critically important to get that bill done, before the budget is passed. So we need that bill as part of the budget.
Yes, yes,
That will make the
absolutely.
budget gap a little bigger, but for the sake of local
Bigger,
businesses,
yes.
I think it needs to be done.
We need them. We need them. Okay. I'm going on to the next question. Within the increase in nonprofit organization working to benefit communities, what are your plans to work with these organizations that can help and marginalize the most impacted communities?
I have a wonderful relationship with all of the nonprofits that serve my district. My wife happens to work for a not-for-profit, right in the 24th district. They serve people with children and seniors and with people with developmental disabilities. I have a wonderful relationship with the Queens Community House and Catholic Charities and all of the many service providers. And so there is a huge network out there. And not only that, one of the things I do with my discretionary funds is I make sure that every kind of not-for-profit advocacy organization that have very particular skill sets are funded. So there are people there are not-for-profits that specialize in people that are having landlord-tenant issues. There are not-for-profits that specialize in other things, and they count on city council funding to make sure that they can keep serving people. And once we get a problem, I can go to this organization, which I'm already funding, and indicate that this group of individuals or this individual constituent needs help. And so this is all part of what it is to know how to be a council member and to make sure that the not-for-profit network is intact, and not only intact and not only have a good relationship, but you're giving them money to make sure that they can do what they need to do
Yes.
for the people.
And you want to make sure this nonprofit organization do support the district properly and that they are managed properly. That they have to be accountable of their resources and the grants they get.
Yes, that is, and if there's any kinds of fiscal mismanagement, they're
misleading.
automatically not eligible for city funds, and we've had that happen. We've had not-for-profits who run afoul of the guidelines of the city and make themselves ineligible for city funding.
Yes.
That happened once that I know of.
One of the most important questions that I'm getting over and over again, and this I'll take a few minutes on it. In the last 15-20 years, there has been an increase in number of South Asian in District 24 in your council district.
Yes.
How will you help our communities? What are your plans for food insecurity, assisting small businesses, assisting tenants and landlords? But mainly, Before I get to the three other questions, how will Mr. James F. Gennaro will help the South Asian community with food security, with businesses, small businesses, especially landlord and tenants? How would you have an impact in the community of your district?
Well, I will say that those problems that you talk about are not particular, to the South Asian community. All,
All communities, yes, all
these are
communities,
all
absolutely.
communities.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I mean, I did, back in my day from 2002 to 2013. I think my record speaks for itself in terms of everything that I was able to do, for the South Asian community. And now that it has grown, I will certainly continue to do that. And all of the previous, questions we've gone over, where I talked about my, funding for not-for-profits, funding for meal for food security, whether it's senior centers or Meals on Wheels. If they are in some kind of distress and need, legal assistance, I've made provisions for all of that. And I'm also of the mind that, when it comes to community centers, I think some of the greatest community centers, already exist in the form of schools. I mean, we should use schools as community centers and not build necessarily, new structures. We can use schools for that, and programs like the Magnet program and the Beacon program, and to make sure that people have access to to all kinds of activities which are educational and also enriching. Many parents don't come home until 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and the kids have to be someplace. And so it is my plan to make sure that that
Yes.
network of social services is completely intact, for the South Asian community. And I hope to once again be called the Bangladeshi community, although I am not Bangladeshi. But
we're gonna have to find you a last name that fits within the Bangladeshi community. We're gonna get a name for you that fits in.
Okay. People call me a lot of names, and I'm used to that too.
Okay. Mainly during COVID, as you know, all communities had faced tremendous amount of food insecurities, especially. How would you have improved the impact if you were the councilman?
Yeah, I think it all comes with making sure that people who were getting a paycheck and who are not getting a paycheck now, I mean, even when I was out of office, so many people came to me with problems with unemployment, and I was helping. I mean, someone who's not even in office, help them to get the unemployment benefits that they need and deserved. And I think also we have to move forward with what I said before about the payroll protection program, to make sure that people continue to get paychecks. Otherwise they're not going to be able to float the boat. They're not going to be able to pay their mortgage, and that is going to be a terrible situation. And when it comes to landlord tenant, there was no one who did more of that kind of work than I did, by not only funding resources and organizations that can help people with landlord tenant issues, but also by giving them actual lawyers that would advocate for them from the CUNY Law School clinic. Because people sometimes what you really need is a good lawyer, and I was able to make that happen for a lot of people.
There are so many people commenting, and I would love to. Muslim Ummah said it's a great program. There's so many other people here on live are commenting. I would like to bring up their. Mohammed Rashid, James Gennaro is best among all the best political office holders in New York City. So Mohammed Rashid has said you are one of the best. Mohammed Rashid again said he's one of the most qualified and admirable speaker of New York City Council that will bring honor and more funds to us, luck quickly, respect. This is your Uncle Rashid. So
Oh,
Mr.
Uncle Rashid. Okay.
Uncle Rashid, again, Mr. Mohammed Rashid said Jim Gennaro has a dream for South Asian, a Dust community. A Dust community council. I think he's talking about autism community. As you know, there's within your district, there's that
Yes.
three schools
I'm
that's
very, very glad that you mentioned this because,
yes,
when I first became a council member, I visited PS 154 in the Flushing suburban civic area, and I took a tour of the school. And then it was a 3-story building, and on the 3rd story, I said, well, what's on the 3rd floor? And they said, well, that's a different school. That is an autism school. It's from District 75. And so I contacted the principal of the autism schools for District 75. His name at the time, he's no longer the principal. His name is Richard Marowitz, and he informed me that I had 3 of the 7 autism schools were in the 24th district. I offered him funding for learning technology, and he asked me for $10,000 in funding, and I said I don't think that's adequate for 3 schools for autism. I said rather than 10,000, why don't we make it 150,000 and do 50,000 per school to make sure you have the best in learning technology, for these kids. My own nephew, who is my godson as well, has autism. It's something that's very near and dear to me. And so I did everything I could. And every other year, I would make sure that they got an infusion of capital funds to make sure that, the kids with autism had everything that I could give them in terms of learning technology.
we have about 5 minutes, and I really want to get to two questions,
Sure.
very important questions. I'm going to bring up housing. As you know, New York City housing, there are so many vouchers that the city provides. Section 8,
Right.
Link 1, Link 2, Link 3, City FEB, SODA, HRA, One Shot Deal. All these various city housing vouchers.
Right.
What is really hurting is a vast majority of the landlord, plus also management companies don't acknowledge the vouchers, don't take the voucher. And also, I am requesting you, Mr. Councilman, that when you do take the council seat, that the voucher amount must meet the market value. For an example, for a 2-bedroom apartment in Jamaica, Queens, is about $1,800 to $2,000 for a
Right.
2-bedroom apartment. But the city voucher, they only give $1,580 for city FEBs. Section
Right.
8 gives about 16, 17 something. So what the landlord is asking for and what the city is giving is it's not matching. So that's why we have hundreds of thousands of people in the shelter, especially in Path 151 Bronx is the intake shelter for these homeless people. And all shelters around New York City are overfilled with people. New York City and the council and all New York City council member have to come up with a broader idea of raising the voucher to the current market value so we can place these people. They are just like me and you. They have been displaced because they're evicted or they lost a job. They have kids just like me and you. We have to find a better, broader idea of raising the voucher amount to the market value.
I think you put it perfectly. I don't think there is any other way to do it. I have been involved in situations where I would deal with individual landlords and I would prevail upon them to take the voucher. Because I do have, because once one represents a district, like, I know who the good actors are when it comes to landlords. I know who the bad actors are. And then
we must hold them accountable.
But your point about the vouchers is critically important, because if the vouchers, don't meet the market rate, and then we have a situation where people are going to be in the streets, and
Exactly.
we can't really have that. And I've done a lot with regard to preserving the affordable housing that we have now. Back when, the Mitchell-Lama housing was going to go out of existence in 2009, I led the charge in the council along with some other members, to make sure that the Mitchell-Lama housing did not lose its tax exemption, because when the Mitchell-Lama was built, they had 50 years of tax exemption. Then once that was up, we made sure that they got the tax exemption back. I also did the same thing for the community of Electchester, which had lost its, tax advantage 11 years earlier.
Yes.
And we did Mitchell-Lama. I made sure that Electchester was taken care of as well. So it's all about, preserving the affordable housing that you have,
Yes.
as well, and make sure that
we have 2 minutes left. We have 2 minutes left, Mr. Gennaro. The city FEFs, they give a bonus to landlords. They give a bonus of $4,300. I think all city vouchers, like Section 8, they should give a bonus to landlords, but landlords are more satisfied and they would take these vouchers because they would get a big bonus. The city FEFs provide 11 months upfront rent to landlords, and I think Section 8 and other programs should follow such as, so that way we can get more people out of homelessness and shelters. Last question for today, one of the most important questions: how can you help these struggling small businesses? As you know, small businesses is our backbone of this country.
Correct.
Our backbone of the community. Many small businesses do not qualify for PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. How can, or if you do become the next council member for District 24, how can you help your local community who don't qualify for this for PPP? How can you get them extra help, or come up with a different program where they can get help to run their business and run their family?
And thank you for mentioning that again. I'll mention one again that I think the best bill in the council for that. People can look him up. His name is Stephen Levin. He represents the 33rd district,
Levin, yes.
And he's got a great bill that would create a local version of the PPP. And so again,
what is it called? Do you have a name for it? Do you have a sponsored name for it?
I don't have the name for it.
Okay.
I just talked to Steve the other day. I wanted to get the name of it.
Steve Levin from Brooklyn, right? From Brooklyn.
Steve Levin from Brooklyn.
Yes.
He's got a very good bill that would,
Yes.
that would create a city version of the PPP. I mean, I think that is the way to go. And if we don't do that, we're just going to lose our small businesses, and they're not going to come back. And so we have a special obligation, even in this tight budget, to do Steve Levin's bill. Again, I mean, I can sit here and promise that Steve Levin's bill is going to get passed into law. I mean, I will do everything I can. I'm not even on the council yet, but that is the bill that I have my eye on, and I think that's the way to go. There are a couple bills floating around that, but his is the best one. It's reasonable, it's doable, and I want to help get that done, and that'll go right to the small business.
My last question, please answer in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Do we, or can we hope from the South Asian community to see a chief of staff in Mr. Gennaro's office?
I certainly, I've always had a South Asian. I always have a South Asian working in my office. I cannot promise that my chief of staff, which is my number one person, is going to be based, solely on merit. And I hope that is a South Asian, like that is where I am going to be looking. But to get me started, the previous, chief of staff of, council member, Lanceman, I'm going to be using him for the time being, just because, just for continuity purposes. But I'm going to be doing outreach, in the South Asian community. I have many contacts in the South Asian community, many good people, and that is where I'm going to be looking.
Few more things before we end our show. We have lots of viewers that are asking so much questions. Hundreds of viewers. Sorry if I couldn't get to you tonight. Definitely another time we will bring Mr. Gennaro back and make sure he will answer your questions. Before we let Mr. Gennaro go, who do you see as a prospect or a a leader within the District 24, within the Bangladeshi community?
Who do I see as a leader?
Yeah, or coming up leader in the Bangladeshi community, or that you can that you can work with.
I've always worked with everyone in the Bangladeshi community. Someone that I'm particularly close to is Nurul Haq.
Say it again. What's the name?
Nurul Haq.
Nurul Haq.
And he's a very good friend of mine, and I go to him for a lot of matters that relate to the South Asian community. The Bangladesh
is he from a nonprofit? Which organization is Nurul Haq from?
He is he's a journalist and a community activist, and he is someone who we've maintained a friendship for 20 years. And once someone has passed the 20-year threshold, that you can count on them. And so
quickly, the June primary election, what do you see and what are your plans? Quickly, in 30 seconds.
Yeah, my plans are to run the best campaign I possibly can, just like I did, and get my message out, and hopefully the voters will see fit to have me win that primary. But whatever happens. I will give my best, and I will offer myself as a choice. And
there were 8 candidates. What I'm hearing from the community, that there are much more candidates coming. How do you see? What are your plans of winning? And how do you go about it if there's more candidates that are coming? What is there any fear in you, or what strategy would you use when June comes?
I play my own game. Play my own game. I get my message out, and it's always like. All my elections have been the same. It's me and the voters. And that's what I do. And everyone's going to have a fully financed campaign, and that is fine. And so everyone will be able to get their message out. And my job is to get my message out, not strategize with other campaigns. And you vote me too, I'll vote you too. No, everything should be left to the voters.
What is something different than all the other candidates that you have? Quickly, in 10 seconds. What is something you specialize that you're different than all the other candidates? In 10 seconds, please.
I know the city council better than anyone else in the city of New York.
And you always said experience matter, that you don't need job on training on job. Can you emphasize in 20 seconds why you said that you are most qualified out of all the other candidates in 20 seconds? Just your qualification quickly.
I'm the only one who's ever served on the council. I have staff experience. I have experience as a member. I've passed more bills than any other councilman in recent history. And so it's all about, and it's not about having ideas. It's having the ability to take even one idea and make it a reality. And that is what I do best. Turn an idea into reality.
How well do you know the mayor and the speakers and the whole city agencies?
The mayor and I go back to 2001, when we were both campaigning for the council. I know the speaker. I know all the members of the council. I know all of the commissioners of all the agencies. When you're around 38 years, you come to know a lot of people.
From what would you like to add? Add something. I'm going to add something to your District 24 constituents that you want to tell the people. Add something special that they can hear from you.
Yes, just like I want, because you mentioned it earlier, it's like I want people to have hope. I want people to have hope. We're going to get past COVID. We're going to get past, all the business failures, and all of the landlord tenant stuff. There is a better day coming, and I think that comes with leadership and, focusing on where the need is. I'm asking people not to give up hope, that we will get through this together as a community, and we'll be, everyone says we'll be stronger for it. It will be better if it never happened, but I want people to have hope. And, to the extent that people don't have hope, I want them to call my office, and I will help to give them hope.
In terms of vaccine, there's so much uh, confusion where you got to apply, you got to wait online.
That's my office. Come to me, and we will sort it out. And one of the things I did when I was,
how can people reach you, Mr. Gennaro? How can people?
well, I plan on having the same telephone number, because the council member that just left took my telephone number when I was in office, so I'm going to take it back. And so the number is 718 217
718
217 718 217 4969. And
that's
I
your
use
office, that's your office number, correct?
Yeah, that will be my office
because
number.
I want to make sure our viewers know. To respect the viewers, Mr. Gennaro office number is 718-217-4969. Continue, Mr. Gennaro.
No, but I just will add that I don't exactly know when the election is going to be certified and when I'll be seated in the council. So I have to be a council member first. I mean, I have to be seated.
Absolutely.
And so once I'm in, like, that will be my phone number.
On Tuesday after the special election, because I was reading the article, and what really touched me, because you said you respect the count process, and you will let the count process play it out, which is very professional in you. And what made you want to wait? Because you already have vast majority of the vote. It's nearly impossible for any other candidates to come and catch up with you to majority. What in sense made you to let it be?
The most important words, the most important word my parents taught me was respect. And you've got to respect the process. And for me, on Tuesday night, before the Board of Elections had even opened one absentee ballot, for me to say that I'm the winner. I think it's important because someone might have put their ballot in the mail just on Tuesday, because it's on Farmers Tuesday. And so let's count the ballots. Let's let everything play out. And then, because you have to respect the system, you have to respect the voters. Let's get all the votes counted, and that will be an appropriate time, to make a statement.
I know immigration is a border issue than city council. It's a national issue.
Correct.
Because we have a lot of South Asian in your community of District 24. We have most are immigrants. You have a lot of deportees, lots of overstay, lots of immigration issues.
Right.
As a city council, I know you don't have, I don't want to, due to all respect to you, your hands are tight when it comes to immigration. What resources can you provide to these immigrant families in terms of deportation or overstays?
Well, one of the things I always did was, give the CUNY Law School legal clinic, funding, so that when I had constituents who had, immigration problems and they needed a lawyer, I could provide that. Of course, when it comes to, most immigration matters, I work with the, member of Congress and make sure that the person, gets, what they need from the government. But sometimes what they need is a lawyer. And so I'm able to provide that.
Especially with free consulting, free lawyers. Yes.
Right. So there were, many cases where I was able to keep families intact because I was able to, because through, even though I don't have the, authority on the state, on the city government level, I can give them a lawyer and I'll pay for it. And so we were able to keep, families together so that they could have their day in court.
You're saying you're going to pay for it. Is the city council going to pay for it,
what happens is that, members of the city council get, capital funding, for construction, and they also get funding for for programs. And so out of my discretionary programmatic funding, there'll be money going to the CUNY Law School that they can provide free legal services for people who need a lawyer, whether it's immigration, landlord tenant, some kind of employment discrimination. Sometimes the most helpful thing I can do is through the funding I get through the city council, to allocate some of that to legal services, that people can have free legal services, because that is critically
How
needed.
much?
Pardon? I can't hear you. Froze.
The city council? I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
You're kind of going
Can you
in
hear me
and
now?
out. I can't.
How much is the city council budget for your district 24? How much budget do you get to allocate all over your district?
I mean, that will be determined in the but in the next budget. When it comes to when it comes to capital budget, I believe it's $3 million, and with regard to discretionary funding, I think the number is 250,000. I'm not quite sure about that, but I think it is. I mean, and back in my, because now it's fixed every year, and back in my day, it kind of moved, and it wasn't uniform among all of the members, and there was some unfairness in it, and that if you were very close to the speaker, you got more money, and other people got less, and so now now everybody gets the same.
One of the viewers,
but they're very good. But could very well, because we're facing a $5+ billion budget gap. There could be the situation that the money that council members have to allocate could be decreased. I'm going to push back against that. But when you have more than a $5 billion budget gap, nothing is really safe.
Mr. Amin Mehdi said, "Congratulations, Councilman. Wish you all the best, Jeff Gennaro." Another viewer is asked, Jubair Ahmed. One of the viewer is saying, "Great, a thumbs up." Another viewer is asking, Mr. Gennaro, how you got so many votes from South Asian while you are away from politics for the last 10 years? How did you get so many South Asian voters? Because you were away for 10 years. Can you explain? Can you elaborate?
Actually, I was away for 7 years. I left office in 2013, and and my answer to that is that the South Asian community are people of very goodwill and very long memories, and so they know that they were well served, and they have a long memory, and they voted for someone who had proven to them in the past that he was, all for them, and so I appreciate the fact that they remembered my good work of the past, and that they trust me for the future, particularly in this time of crisis.
So you're saying South Asian. So you're saying South Asian people tend to have a good memory.
Well,
South Asian community people tend to have a good memory of you.
Yeah, I'm also saying that these are people of goodwill, and they don't forget people who have been good to them, and I appreciate that, and that was very heartwarming, to see after. I've been out of office, 7 years and 1 month. Actually, so on election day I was out of office, 7 years, 1 month, and 2 days.
You are a very lucky man, I would say. One of the viewers is asking, what special thing or things you and your team have or for the South Asian community when you happen to be elected city council? What do you have, any special agendas or any special programs that you will do for the South Asian community? You and your team.
It's all about personal touch, finding out what the need is, being in the community, and make sure that the need is served. And so there's not it's not just one thing. It's you have to
Yes.
be, you have to be a presence, and it could be, it could be a matter relating to school, or a matter relating to some sort of, program, is to have people on the ground and have someone, in my office who is a liaison, to the South Asian community, so I know everything that is happening, and
Do you
that
have
I
one?
can,
Do you
take.
have one, or do you tend to have a liaison within the South Asian community?
How could I not? I mean, it's a critically important community, and I've always done that
Do you
for.
have anybody in mind, or you're still researching it? Do you have anybody in mind?
I do not have anybody in mind right now. I mean, I have people that I'm thinking about, but out of respect to everyone who's in my mind, I don't want to. I don't want to show my cards. Okay.
Well, listen. At least you can give the viewers some hint, because so we would be excited and push forward. That'd be something nice that you're gonna emphasize, or your
Of
picks.
course, of course, so there will be someone in my office, that will be my liaison to the South Asian community, and that is the least that any council member, can do for all of the communities. Like when it comes to, I mean, it's a very, very diverse district, and I have to make sure that I know what's going on in all parts of the district, among all, the various demographic groups that are in the district, and their needs are different and special. And that's what I did before, and people remembered it, and we saw the outcome on Tuesday, and I think the outcome speaks for itself.
Uh, a few more questions. Do some candidates are promoting to defund the police. Where do you stand in terms of defunding the police? As you can see, crimes are high all over New York City. I mean, do you support to defund the police, or do you
No, no,
support
absolutely
to
not. I
support the
made I,
police?
I I made a strong case of that. I mean, people confuse defunding the police with reform of the police. They're very different things.
Yes,
I mean, all I heard
exactly,
on the
exactly.
campaign trail is like, we need safe streets. We need neighborhoods to be safe. We want the police to be accountable, but we want police. We need someone to come when people call 911. And so I am not in favor, in any way, shape, or form, with any kind of defunding of the police. And I was on the phone today, with the Speaker of the Council, saying I'm not yet on board yet on the council, but I want to talk to the leadership of the council about my feelings regarding defund the police, which to me is no, we don't do that.
Okay. Last question, and then we'll cut off a few more questions. Do you want to thank anybody besides your campaign team? Do you want to thank anybody within the district that has
I want to thank
influence
the
influence
people.
to help you within the Bangladeshi community? Who can you thank besides anybody besides your campaign team?
I mean, I got help from my Uncle Rashid.
Uncle Rashid,
I got
okay.
help from Narul. I got help from Muhammad Aminullah, the district leader at large. But I mean, really, like, the people to thank are the people who came out.
District leader at large. What's his name?
Muhammad Aminullah. Muhammad Aminullah. And
Okay,
so,
okay.
I mean, but most important is, like the people that I really want to thank is the people who came out and voted, no matter who they voted for. I
Exactly.
mean, this is what is important. Like, this was my, this was my dream back when I first became a council member, was that the Bangladeshi community and like the entirety of the South Asian community, would be empowered, would vote, and this is what we need. We need people to. We've got a city election primary in June. We've got a general election in November. We need people to be engaged and come out and vote. That is what we need. And so back when I was helping the South Asian community, when I first started, there were really no votes in it for me, or not many, but it wasn't about that. It was about doing the right thing and doing everything I could to make sure that this that this wonderful community made its way into the political mainstream, and now we have this vibrant, politically active community with like tons of people who are voting. And so, this is a dream come true to see people, come to the polls to vote, like no matter who they vote for. So this is the this is the mantra: vote, vote, vote.
We hope you will complete your commitment to the South Asian community, to the community of District 24, and to all communities of District 24. Not only the South Asian community,
Sure.
the African American community, the Latino community, the Asian community, the Jewish community, the non-Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Hindu community, the Buddhist, the Jehovah's Witness, to all community of colors. We hope that you state your commitment and finish your job properly.
That is my commitment.
Regardless of color or religion, we are
Correct.
all same. We are all in this together.
We are all God's children.
We are all God's children. We are all facing a horrendous time with this coronavirus. People are dying left, right, and center. People are dying every second. We should help our neighbors. We should help our seniors. Let's all work together for a better tomorrow. Thank you very much, James Gennaro. Thank you very much again for joining us tonight, FM 786. It was my honor, my privilege to interview you, and hopefully, God willing, we can bring you back again to learn more from you and learn more about District 27. We wish you, FM 786 wishes you all the best of luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here, and all of your wonderful viewers and the people who are so engaged and asking questions. It's an honor. I'm happy to come on anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Gennaro. Good night.